Going into Etrian Mystery Dungeon, I wasn't expecting to be blown away because of one ginormous reason. My experience with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team back on the Nintendo DS left a bad taste in my mouth with the whole Mystery Dungeon style gameplay being insanely repetitive. I'm sorry PMD fans, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. But after spending around 20 hours spelunking through dungeon after dungeon, I'm really glad I gave Etrian Mystery Dungeon a chance to shine because oddly enough, I thoroughly enjoyed it. In case you don't know, Etrian Mystery Dungeon is the collaboration between Spike Chunsoft's Mystery Dungeon series and Atlas Etrian Odyssey series. It mixes together the character customization and class system from Etrian Odyssey and the roguelike dungeon crawling from Mystery Dungeon, and it meshes together really well. The story isn't exactly the most exciting tale ever told, as there's not much depth to it, but it does lay the groundwork for why you keep crawling through dungeon after dungeon. There's a few mysteries you'll want to learn the answers to, and I was relieved to see that there were even some twists towards the game's end to keep things a bit more interesting. But other than that, the story is very shallow, so the gameplay of Etrian Mystery Dungeon is definitely what makes it stand out. The funny thing is, Etrian Mystery Dungeon is super repetitive, but it's the type of repetitiveness that is enjoyable because there's a lot of depth there, similar to how people feel about the Dynasty Warriors games. When you're not in the town, which acts as the game's central hub where you'll buy weapons and armor, accept quests, and so on, you'll be venturing through randomly generated multi-floor dungeons, so one dungeon will never be laid out the same way twice. The dungeons are set up in a way where they look and feel really simple, as they are comprised of small, uncomplicated box-shaped rooms that are all connected by narrow pathways. It sounds rather boring and monotonous, but for some funny reason, I found it to be a total blast. There are several key components that keep each and every dungeon engrossing, with one ingredient being that they are all total mysteries. You won't know what lies in store for you in each and every room, as it's all shrouded in darkness. Sometimes the rooms could be barren, other times you'll find items and materials, and other than that, there can even be a monster party where a bajillion creatures will try to rip your head off. Not literally. It's unpredictable, but that's what makes it so awesome. It keeps you on your toes. Alongside that, you've got a variety of different hidden traps waiting to pinch you in the butt, hunger you need to combat, TP points for skills you need to use wisely, and then there's the DOEs, and I have no clue what it stands for. Don't overcook eggs, daddy's old eggplant, dog's own earwax, I don't know. But what I do know is that they're much tougher than just any old enemy you'll find wandering in the dungeon. And as you continue going farther and farther down, they'll be trying to climb higher and higher up so that they can attack the town. So you have to find a way to stop their assault, whether that be building forts that push them back down to a lower level, or just straight up destroying them. And then when you get down to the lowest level of a dungeon, you get to face off against a menacing boss. And they actually do feel like threats, contrary to some other games, which is really welcoming. But you better have your team prepared because it's going to be crucial if you're going to make it out alive. And speaking of having your team prepared, the Etrian Odyssey tradition of party customization does heighten the gameplay, as it allows for multiple different ways to play the game. You can freely choose your own party of 4 from up to 10 different class types. There's the OG Medic, who of course heals and revives party members, the Protector, who acts as a great meat shield and can attract the attention of enemies, and the Ninja, who is very strong and agile, but doesn't have the greatest defense. These classes are also in no way stagnant, as they come packed with a skill tree with a wealth of different upgradable abilities and buffs, so you can cook them up to your liking. I also can't fail to mention the constant reminder of death looming over your head, as Etrian Mystery Dungeon isn't there to hold your hand. Since it is roguelike, it will punish you for dying, as you will lose all the items, materials, money, and even some of the weapons and armor your characters have equipped at the time of death. And well, it's awesome. It in no way hinders the game's experience, but rather enhances it that much more, as it keeps things tense and forces you to be careful. But there were a couple gripes I had about the gameplay though, because for one, when your team gets trapped in one of the narrow pathways because an enemy is blocking your way, the leader of your team is the only one who will attack for some reason. Your allies, who may even have ranged attacks, just sit there like a bump on a log as if there's no enemy attacking. I don't know why it happens or if it was intentional, but I just found it to be annoying. Other than that, it can be a bit tedious to have to constantly switch control between your teammates to pick up crafting materials in the dungeon, since each character class specializes in collecting specific materials. But it would have made it more streamlined if you didn't have to switch characters, because the ability could have just been shared with the entire team. But outside of gameplay, Etrian Mystery Dungeon looks quite solid. I mean, it's not the most visually impressive game on the Nintendo 3DS, but the artwork is clean and it runs well. There's a good number of distinct creatures you'll encounter, along with a variety of different dungeon designs to explore. The dungeons are pretty polished, and they do have a generous amount of detail applied to them, whether you're spelunking through a forest or in some rocky terrain with fossils laying around. I also appreciated that when you get to a certain level of a dungeon that is pretty far down there, the design will get a makeover. So it gives it more of an authentic feel, as if you're really trekking through some labyrinth. On the other hand, the music complements the game well, and its orchestral arrangements are well crafted. They'll cover the music spectrum, as they range from something more lighthearted and mellow to more aggressive and upbeat rock tunes. You won't be disappointed, and I especially love the first dungeon with its blasting trumpets, and the boss theme with its fast-paced electric guitariness. Etrian Mystery Dungeon is also one of those games that will last you a long while, as it will take you a good 20 hours to wrap up the story. The game doesn't actually end there, as even more content will open up after you beat the game, and Atlas is also supporting the title with DLC to add a tiny bit more longevity to this dungeon crawler. They are just simple quests, but they will award you with new food at the restaurant or extra gold. Can't really complain about it though, because the best part is, all the DLC is free until May 5th, and who doesn't like free DLC? I know I do, because I'm a cheap old tightwad. Overall, I was really surprised with my experience with Etrian Mystery Dungeon, because I wasn't going into it with a very positive outlook, since I was soured by Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. But I'm glad I took the game for a spin, because it blew my expectations away. The dungeon crawling is great and fleshed out, and even though it is repetitive, the depth of the gameplay helps to alleviate the tediousness. And the Etrian Odyssey aspect of the title, with the character customization and class system, allows for a lot of gameplay diversity, and lets you choose how you want to play. Plus, I love the challenge the game brought forth, and its roguelike element of punishing you for being a scrub and dying. So in all, the GamingPixelShow.com thinks Etrian Mystery Dungeon is an amazing game. And that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and add your favorites and all that good stuff, and you can stay tuned for more videos in the future. But I will talk to you later in the next video guys, bye!